death is not the end, you know? We have this final concept of what death is, but from my experience, that it's not the end of anything. What I've come to understand is that it's a change in language. That's what it is. We can express ourselves through our voice because we have physical vocal cords and we can speak, right? But everything else that we cannot access through a physical device communicates through energy. And so when we lose someone, if we open ourselves up to learning the language that they are speaking now, the conversation doesn't have to end. I've connected to so many babies, born and unborn babies. So loads of mamas that had miscarriages. And the thing that I hear the most from the kids is like, thank you for being my mom for that time, because that's what I needed. I just needed to be there. I just needed to experience it that way. Thank you for giving me the love. Thank you for allowing me to be born, or allowing me to just be in your body for as long as I needed to. And that's what I needed to experience. And there's so much peace when they come through, so much peace. And I can sense how we are connected through lifetimes. And very often, you know, children, we meet them again. I think that mediumship is a beautiful tool for that, connecting with the souls of the unborn babies. It's a beautiful way to have a conversation and understand why things went the way that they did. There are so many souls. Not all of them get to be in the physical world all the time. You know, some of them, maybe that's the experience that their soul wanted to have at that time. And honestly, so many of the unborn babies that I connected with had only thank you to say to their moms. Only thank you. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. So, as a spiritual guide and medium, I'm really intrigued to know how this journey started for you. Were you always connected to your gifts?
Right. A couple of things there. I need to say that these are not gifts. I really have to say it.
Okay, good, good.
I really have to say it, that these are not gifts. So this is our intuition. You know, this really is our intuition. Every single person on the planet is born with an intuition, and we can obviously go to the gym for it and train it
Yeah.
to the point then that you get to, you know, do mediumship and look into people's energy and doing energy healing and all this sort of stuff. But in terms of everyone being capable of doing that, yes, absolutely. It's definitely not a special gift. No. And I am
Yeah.
so determined in this journey of mine to just say this to as many people as I can, because I
I
think
love
that
that.
actually, yeah, because I mean, think about it. You know, I think that so many of us already think so little of ourselves, right?
True, true,
So
true.
much, so little. And so if we think that these uh, quote unquote abilities are special gifts, then we're never going to think that we're good enough or that we're special enough to be able to do
Yeah.
that. Right. I know that at least I thought that for a very long time. Right. I thought, oh, there's no way I have the gift. There's no way. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that I want part of my work to be, you know, about this awareness. Yes.
That's so
About this
true.
awareness. Mm.
Yeah, I love that you said that actually. Because we all have access to our intuition. We just tend to not like tap into that or ignore it or just not develop it. So I think maybe we can use ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ability is simply, you know, someone, there's people that, you know, play football really well, but they train their whole lives to get to the NFL, don't they? And so it's the same thing, you know, it's the same thing. You don't even
Yeah.
have to train your whole life to be a medium, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily what it is. But the more you train, the more you will feel confident in your abilities, and the more you will get in tune with them, which is what the journey is all about, really. Because I feel like, so you asked me if I felt anything, you know, since I was a child, and I don't think I had the words to express it as I was a child. I could only say, you know, looking back, I was probably just a very sensitive child. I
Mm.
was very emotional. And I just felt energy. But between that and being able to say what the energy was, no, I could not articulate that for sure. I didn't, it felt natural to me that when somebody passed away, as you grow up and lose, the grandparents, unfortunately, they are usually the first ones to go. And I never felt like they had gone anywhere.
Yeah.
But it never occurred to me that it could be because I could be sensing them because of a psychic ability. It never occurred to me that it could be that way. To me, it was simply like, well, because that's naturally what energy does. Like, it was kind of like a natural understanding that I had of things, but I didn't
Yeah.
have the proper language to articulate what I was experiencing. And then for a very long time, I was very disconnected. I was very lost, very disconnected. I was in a very unhealthy relationship for a very, very long time. And
Yeah.
then when I got out of that relationship, I sort of started a journey back home to myself. And
Yeah.
that's when I expanded a little bit more. And I remember doing a session with this spiritual coach I was working every now and then at the time. And her mentioning that she felt like I had so many uh, energies or spirits around me. And I said, oh,
Mm.
so that's what it is. I literally like came down with the realization.
Yeah.
So is that what it is? The stuff that I'm feeling. And she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, she says, possibly it is. But I thought, isn't this how everybody feels? Like, isn't this just how energy works? And she
Yeah.
said, well, it is, but not necessarily everyone has the awareness yet, you know? And so she advised, she's like, why don't you explore it a little bit? It could be really good for you. And so that's how we all started, but I was already in my 30s
Wow.
when I did that. So
Wow.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah,
what was it like, because growing up in Italy, what was your family like when it came to stuff like that? Were they super religious, or were they like
yeah.
really aware of this very intuitive spiritual side of life? What was that like for you? Did that kind of inform your own beliefs or the things that you were feeling at that time?
Yeah, this is so interesting actually, because my family was very Catholic. Yes, yeah, 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 very religious. You were not allowed to think certain things or say certain things. To me personally, I was sent to Sunday school. I had my first communion, the Holy Communion and all that, but
Yeah.
I never really understood it. It was never a language that actually made a lot of sense to me, you know? And so I went with it because I didn't have any alternative. I wasn't given any alternative, you know? Um, but then growing up, I felt like more attracted to other things, but I couldn't because they were not true according to
Mm,
my upbringing, right? They were
yeah.
not true. The only person in my family was my mom a little bit, but she wouldn't, for the way that she was raised, bless her, I don't think she felt comfortable going necessarily against her parents,
Yeah.
but she's very much intrigued now when I do my work. She's always, asking about the tarot and the astrology and the mediumship sessions and all this sort of stuff. So she's very intrigued now. But when I
Wow.
was growing up, it was very much a taboo, this sort of stuff. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Hmm.
wow. Yeah. So, all right, lay it out for me. What happened? When did you really begin to like seriously honing on your abilities, when you recognize that this is something that you can actually work with, because you also do mediumship? How did that
Yeah.
all come about for you?
Yeah. I made a decision. I made a decision to stay true to my own authenticity and to allow myself to explore without caring about what anybody was going to say or think.
Yeah.
I just chose to let's see. Let's see. I chose to give myself space. I think that's a good way to describe it.
Hmm.
I chose to give myself space. And then I was one New Year's Eve a few years ago, I jotted down my wishes for the following year. And I wrote down that I wanted to find a mentor to help me understand this kind of world, how it all worked and whether it was possible for me or not. And I think it was February of the following year, this person came into my life, and we still work together to this day because we teach together now.
Yeah.
But that's how it went for me. It was that internal decision of allowing myself to explore something that did not make sense for a lot of people in my life, but it felt very aligned to who I was. And so
Mm.
I literally decided, no, I'm going to choose this because I have to have a bit of sense of urgency in this life.
Yeah.
I have to honor the gift of life that has been given to me, and therefore I gotta go this way. You know.
Yeah, tell me more about your abilities. I'd love to know, um how did you kind of figure out, I guess, which ones you were a little bit stronger in and which ones you wanted to work with? Yeah, I'd love to know more about your abilities.
It's very interesting. Definitely the first one that came through for me was clairvoyance. I feel I see a lot. At least that was actually that was the easiest one. That's why it came through first, I think,
Hmm.
because I've always been very good at visualizing. Usually, um, people who are good at visual arts, or like photography or painting or stuff like that, they usually are great clairvoyance as
Yeah.
well. And so that was something that came to me very easily. But as I was doing my training, so my decision to give that space to myself that I was talking about earlier was to then actually go and properly train, and
Yeah.
work with my mentor who trained me on a one-to-one basis for a few months to
Yeah.
do this. So that's how I went about it. And so during my training, clairvoyance was the first one. And then the more I trained and the more I practiced, I really set the intention to just allow myself to be completely open. Because one of the things that you learn during training is to bypass your analytical mind, right?
Yeah.
Because the analytical mind is the one that makes you question things. And very
Yeah.
often it's the one that says, something comes through, during a reading, and the analytical mind goes, you made it up. That's not true. That's not
Yeah.
possible. Right. So it's that
Yeah.
second guessing. So once I chose to shut that out, and just go with completely just opening my senses and read with my whole body, then I started getting a lot more. Now I'm very, very clairsentient, so I feel a lot through my body. I feel a lot, so I
Mm.
feel colors, I feel sounds, everything through the body. So when I'm doing a reading,
Wow.
I connect to the energy that whether I'm reading a person, maybe I'm doing like a past life reading or something for a person, or I'm talking to a soul on the other side. The experience for me is very similar.
Yeah.
I simply connect to the energy, and then just I allow this energy to communicate with me. And I truly feel that all I'm here to do is translate.
Mm.
That's what I feel. Like I allow this energy to talk to me, and I translate it into English. That's it. That's all that happens. you know.
Yeah.
But in the energetic space, I receive colors, words, images,
Hmm.
sensations in my body, sounds. Like it's all a mixture of multiple things, and then I convey them. Which is it's very interesting. It feels great. It really feels great to be
That's
in that space.
amazing.
Mm.
That's really amazing. So, you know,
Thank you.
growing your abilities, getting stronger in your abilities, what has it really, I mean, taught you or showed you about this reality that we live in?
A couple of things, I think. Um, First one that was a big game changer for me, and it was
Mm.
very early in my training, um, was that we're not alone. We're never alone. Even when we think that we're alone, we're not. And expanding our intuitive abilities, training ourselves, whether you want to do it because you want to become a practitioner, or you just want to train yourself because you want to enhance your life, because we have plenty of people that come and train just because they want to be able to experience that more in their life. Not necessarily everybody wants to be a medium.
Yeah.
But one of the first things is that you realize that you're actually connected to everything, you know? And since that first training that I had, I never felt alone ever again. I never felt
Mhm.
alone. I always feel so supported. I always feel like there's somebody there for me. I have visited so many different things that I never thought I would feel in my life, like
Mhm.
so many journeys, just through psychic abilities and through meditation, so many
Yeah.
things that I never thought I would ever experience. So the first one would be that it's definitely taught me that if we open up, we can really understand that we're never alone. And
Mhm.
I think that that's a significant thing in this day and age,
Mhm.
to understand and to really lean into the fact that even if we are alone in a room, energetically we're not, and we have so much support around ourselves. So that
Mhm.
that was a big realization for me, and that changed a lot. And it changed the way that I approach life. It changed how I feel about things, how I feel about myself. Like it changed a lot of things, for
Mhm.
sure. That would
Yeah.
definitely be the biggest thing. um and also, it taught me that there's so much that we are blocked to,
Yeah.
so much that we're blocked to, whether it's because we don't believe in ourselves, or because we're following somebody else's path instead of our own. Maybe we're stuck in fear. But a lot of the life experience that a lot of what we experience in the physical life is not good for us. It's
Yeah.
really not good for us. And I didn't understand the extent of it until I opened up to this other world,
Yeah,
let's
tell me
say.
some more about that. Tell me some more about your discovery of that and, your thoughts on what it is about this life, about this reality that blocks us so much, or anything, just anything about what you just described to me.
I think that the way that I've been trying to figure this out, and the way
Mm.
that I'm understanding it is that, which is literally the reason why I do what I do, and it's part of my mission.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're ultimately, we every single person on the planet, in my opinion, is here to do something.
Yeah.
And it happens in very different ways for each and every one of us. But I think that for all of us is about coming home,
Yeah.
right? It's about coming home to ourselves in whichever way we're meant to experience it, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I've observed that there is a huge amount of fear about that journey of coming home to ourselves.
Yeah.
A huge amount of fear, a huge amount of insecurity, a huge amount of pain. And I think that a lot of people are trying to, sorry, a lot of people are think that they are doing something about the pain, but they keep themselves stuck in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's this whole world that we live in. I think it's been designed in a way to make us not connect to ourselves, to keep us in the pain. I think it really is purposely designed that way. Because
Mm-hmm.
imagine if there's, however many of us it is on this planet, 8 billion people on the planet. Imagine everybody felt truly connected to their purpose.
Mm.
Imagine, right? Imagine how the economy would change, how
Yeah.
the planet would change, right? How people's habits would change in the way that we spend, in the way that we, you know, go about our life, the things that really
Yeah.
matter to us, the things that don't, right? if we were all connected to our purpose, if we were all connected to our intuition and really trusted it, I do truly believe that somebody will lose out.
That's
you
true.
know?
That is so true. Yeah.
And yeah, and something makes me think that there's a design. There's the world is being designed in a certain way for a certain reason,
Yeah, to
unfortunately.
keep us stuck in the fear and the pain and all of
Yeah.
that, because then it's easy to control you from that. You know, when you're stuck in that, it's definitely easy to control and to convince people to do things that are not healthy for them, or to
Yeah.
convince them that something that is unhealthy is healthy for them. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like living in this upside down kind of reality, but I feel like it's slowly improving, even though it doesn't feel like it, because like of conversations like this, I see more and more people be open to these kind of conversations, and people are exploring and people are seeking alternatives. So I definitely think that is improving, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it at all.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot more openness now.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. Yeah. Yeah. Finally, I
Yeah.
think we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. So, like being a medium and all, how is it that you help people with connecting with their loved ones that are passed on? Like how did you even, because as we are talking about just the fear and being programmed in a way to think that these things are not okay and we should be doing that and it's blasphemous and blah blah blah, whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um so did you have any fears, first of all, going into this, or maybe because you had a mentor, did that kind of help you to lean more into it? How did that work for you? And I'd love for you to tell me more about your mediumship and what you've discovered through working, um, through doing that type of work.
Yeah. 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 You know what gave me massive validation?
Mm.
Astrology, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. It gave me massive validation because I've been studying astrology myself,
Yeah.
by myself, self taught, for about 5 or 6 years now. And the more I am discovering, I specifically love personal astrology, so our birth charts. I don't know how familiar you are with those, but
Yeah.
it's our
Yeah.
birth chart. So it's essentially like a map of the sky at the moment that you were born, right? And it
Yeah.
tells us a little bit more about your energetic imprint,
Yeah.
essentially. And so I've been studying my own birth chart a little bit, and basically I have this habit, I have this thing that I do, that whenever I am facing something new in my life that I don't necessarily understand or I don't know how to navigate, I revert back to my chart. So let's say, for
Mm.
example, I was studying psychic skills. I would do my psychic training,
Hmm.
and I thought, what can I look at in my own energetic blueprint, in my own birth chart, that tells me a little bit more about how my energy is around these things, right?
Oh.
And so I did, and so I went and picked up those specific things that have to do with spirituality, that have to do with the um, with the uh, with the unknown, this sort of energies.
Yeah.
And uh, and 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 basically that's exactly what it pointed to. It pointed to being a bridge between two worlds. It pointed to, communication between two different realities and two different worlds.
Hmm.
And I thought, oh, okay, so that I feel okay now. It was
Wow.
almost like that permission slip. It was like it was a question mark for so long, because as I said, we doubt ourselves so much, right? We feel
Yeah.
attracted to something. I always had this interest and this attraction for mediumship and for understanding the other side and what happens after we die and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But having seen it as actually being something that's part of my energetic blueprint, it gave me that permission to be myself. I know that we
Yeah.
shouldn't need this. I know that we shouldn't need this. Okay, we
Yeah.
shouldn't. We should just feel like we can definitely be ourselves, but it doesn't always happen this way. And
That's true.
that for me was a really significant moment when I thought, oh, okay, so if it's part of my energy, then okay, then it makes sense, right? And it gave me that massive validation, and then from there I just thought, you know what, this is what I'm supposed to be experiencing, and I'm just going to let the information come through. And I just opened up to it completely, and I stopped like blocking myself, second guessing myself, and all these sort of things, and it just went became better and better ever since. So to me, it was that
Wow.
opened up a lot to me. Yeah, for
That's
me,
really
astrology.
beautiful. That's really
Mm.
beautiful, Gloria. So, what is it like when you're working with someone and your loved one starts coming through?
So I am not one of the I love boundaries. Boundaries are one of my favorite topic. So I am not one of those I'm not one of those mediums that I don't know if there are. I know that there are mediums like this that they constantly keep their energy open. I don't. I'm like, no. If I'm out and about doing my life, you don't get to come in. Okay? You leave me
I love
alone. I need
that.
time by myself. I need time to just be, you know.
Yeah.
And when I decide that it's the right time, then we can connect, you know.
Okay,
So
good.
I don't keep myself open all the time. No, I don't. I find it otherwise very overwhelming.
Yeah, it
It's a
must
very,
be.
yeah, it's a really full on experience to just do a mediumship session for someone, or a mediumship reading for someone. And then I thought, imagine if I were to just keep it open while I'm at the supermarket, or while I'm
Oh
like
my
out and about
goodness.
somewhere, you know. And I was
Oh,
like, nope, not
Lord.
gonna happen. Not gonna happen. And so I am very intentional about it. I have rituals around it. Every time I start a session, I set up the room for it. I set up the space. I go into a specific meditation. I call the person through. Well, first of all, I don't always know who I'm going to speak to. So if somebody books a mediumship reading with me, I just open up, I just set the intention that I'm going to be doing a reading for that person, and if there's anybody on the other side who wants to speak to them. And so at that moment, I create that energetic channel between their two energies. And I see sometimes there's people that come even before we start the session, and they say, yes, I'm their father, mother, brother, sister, friend, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the person come on, they say, oh, I wanted to speak to so and so. And so if it matches the person that I have, then I tell them, oh, they're already here.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise I say, well, actually we also have like your grandmother here, would you like to speak to her? And so we just start the conversation like that. But I am very,
Mm.
very intentional, and I have very, very solid boundaries
That's
with
really
spirits.
good. Yeah, because I can only imagine how draining it can be if everything's coming at you all the time. So,
Mm.
what are some of the practices that you do to kind of like, I guess, protect your energy?
Yeah, 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 yeah. First of all, I meditate every day. I
Mm-hmm.
cleanse my energy every day, multiple times a day. Um, I do cleanse my energy before and after every session. I could not do it like without. I have to have the space before, the space after to decompress.
Mm.
It is a very, very uplifting thing to do. So it could be sometimes tiring, but it's a very uplifting thing to do. So in a way, it also gives you energy. It does give me energy to read for somebody else, right? To connect to the other side. I have loads of fun with it. I ask loads of questions to them. I'm always like super curious. People tell me that they feel like they're attending Oprah, because they're like, you feel like you have them on your couch and you're just interviewing them.
That's
Because
really
I like,
funny. I love that.
yeah, I really love that, to keep it a conversation. And to my clients, I say, I'm just here to be a translator. simply because I happen to have studied the language of energy and you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you had studied the language of energy, you could do it yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm always like
Yeah.
very, very transparent about these things, you know? And so I'm just there to translate. And I honestly feel like it's the honor of my life when somebody comes to me and say, I would like you to speak to my mom on the other
Mm.
side. I really take that as such an honor that somebody would want me to speak to their mom. Like,
Yeah.
that to me is so heartwarming, so such a beautiful honor. And so I feel like it's all a beautiful gift that I get to experience. Like, I feel like the whole connecting to them and the whole conversation, it feels really, really uplifting, but it can be tiring. So I don't do more than a certain amount of sessions a day. Two, possibly three is already a lot. So I do that. I spend a lot of time by myself, a lot
Mm.
of time by myself. I need a lot of time in nature as well. So I've changed a lot. I did not used to be like this at all. But the more I do this, the more peace I find, and the more I need to keep it, the peace, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, having worked with people and interviewing their loved ones like Oprah, um, I'd love to know. I'm really intrigued to know, like, you know, can you recall for me any like really impactful or profound sessions that you've had?
We had many. We had many. Um, I mean, I've connected people who were trying to find out how their loved one had passed
Mm,
and whether there was something that they could do about, the consequences of that. Because for some people it was, hospital situation that had caused the passing, so not necessarily, the person. And so there's always this really beautiful thing about trying to find out what happened,
hmm.
that I find very, very interesting. So we had a few of those. I had so many husbands coming through for their wives, and so many dads for their daughters. And these, I have to say, are some of the most heartwarming, heartwarming ones. I get very emotional myself because
Hmm.
let me tell you, there is, we feel that anger and frustration are overwhelming emotions. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, unconditional love, it's a very overwhelming thing to feel.
Mm,
When you get that huge wave, and I had it so many times from husbands on the other sides or fathers on the other sides, especially for their daughters, that wave of unconditional love, and I literally feel it like a tsunami that hits my body. That's a
yeah.
very, very hard thing to contain. So that's one of the things that makes me the most emotional. So when we had connected fathers and daughters very often, now honestly, I've done hundreds and hundreds of them. So, and they're all incredibly special. But
Hmm.
those are some of the ones that I really enjoy the most. And the husbands that just come through. I remember there was no, actually, what was it? It was her husband. Yes, yes, yes.
Mm,
There was somebody in my audience, and I had this man that just said, I just need to give something to my wife. I just need to give them this.
mm,
And he was standing there with a tray, with a plate with a tower of pancakes and a raspberry on
mm.
top.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do not know who you want to speak to. I was like, you need
Yeah.
to tell me who it is that you want to speak to, because we have like almost 100 people here. I need
Oh
to I
my
need to know who that is.
goodness.
And so they gave me a red rose, and then they gave me this, like, they were there with this like plate with this stack of pancakes with a raspberry on, and I was like, this might not make sense to anybody, but please, is there some, if I tell you that I have somebody here with a red rose and with a stack of pancakes and a raspberry, is that saying anything to anyone? And this one was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's my husband. He used to make that for me every Sunday. It used to be our thing.
Oh.
And he would buy her roses. And so he came through and I was like, is that her? And he's like, yes. He said, tell her that we're dancing. Tell her that we're dancing. And so I told her, and she was like, yes, we used to do that all the time. So I like it when I don't know who I'm reading for and there's somebody that comes through and I try to find them in the audience. Sometimes you don't find them.
Yeah.
I still have one little soul whom I've not been able to find their mama yet, but I absolutely will. I am determined to find their mama. Every now and then
Yeah.
he comes through. He's a little boy. Every now and then he comes through and he's like, is my mama going to be there for me today? And I was like, I don't know. We're going to ask. We're going to ask. We're going to
Oh.
see. Yeah. So I haven't been able to find his mama yet, but um, I absolutely will because I promised him. I said we're gonna
Oh,
find her. We're gonna
wow.
find her. Yeah. And then
Oh my
actually, most
goodness.
recently, this was really interesting. Actually, more recently,
Mm.
I've had someone come through, and she said, "I want to speak to my sister-in-law,"
Mm.
and I was like, "Okay," and she showed me a huge head of curly hair, like a
Mm-hmm.
huge head of unruly curls, of
Yeah.
curly hair. And she said, I want to speak to my sister-in-law because I need to speak to my husband. And I was like, okay,
Really?
don't you want to speak to your
Okay.
husband? And she's like, no, I really specifically I have to speak to my sister-in-law. And when I said, and then I started the session and I said to the audience, I have somebody here that wants to speak to their husband that specifically asked to speak to their sister-in-law. So did your sister-in-law pass, a few quite recently, da da da. And this woman came through and she said, yes, it's me. It's definitely my sister-in-law because her husband doesn't want to open up to any of those things.
Mm.
He's suffering, he's in pain, he's completely closed off. And I know why she wants to speak to me because she wants me to tell him that he should open up. But she's like, I've been trying so much and he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's one of the reasons why that I do it, because there's so many people in pain. So
Mm.
many people in pain. And one of the things that I've understood the most with mediumship specifically is that actually death is not the end.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
have this final, concept of what death is, but from my experience, that it's not the end of anything. What I've come to understand is that it's a change in language. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel that death is it's a change in conversation. It's a change in the language that we use, because we are over here everything is energy regardless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is energy, whether we see it or not. Everything is energy. But us with the physical body, we can express ourselves through our voice because we have
Yeah.
physical vocal cords and we can speak, right? But everything else that we cannot access through a physical device communicates through energy, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if we when we lose someone, if we open ourselves up to learning the language that they are speaking now, the conversation doesn't have to end. The
Yeah.
relationship doesn't have to end. The relationship can evolve
Yeah.
in so many ways. In so
Yeah.
many ways. They can help us heal. They can help us move on. I mean, my grandmother, bless her, she's one of the most important people in my life. I love her so much.
Mm.
And now whenever I find a lost soul, she's like, come on, I'll take them. And she takes them toward the light. And
I
so
love
it's
that.
so, yeah. And it's so good to be able to do that with her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's so good that when I needed help, and I didn't even choose that, when I needed help, the first time I found a lost soul, um, when I needed help, I just asked, I don't know how to do this. I said, I don't know how to send them to the other side. And she's like, you don't have to know. She just literally appeared and she's like, you don't have to know. I'll do it for you. I'll take them
Oh,
from here.
wow. Oh my
There you go.
goodness. Tell me
Yeah.
more about that though. Like, how does a soul get lost? Like, is it that they didn't know that they have passed, or they're confused around the
Yeah.
circumstances? How does that even happen?
Yeah, very often happens that when somebody is either like a violent death,
Mm,
yeah, in a unexpected, they very often don't, either they don't know where they are, which has
mm.
happened, that I found somebody that didn't know where they were,
Wow.
or they do, but they are angry. They're angry,
Mm.
frustrated because of what happened, how it happened. And so they hold that frustration, that anger. And so when I find them, I very often say, you can tell when somebody is crossed or not. You can tell.
Mm.
The vibration is totally
It's
different when they
different,
come
eh?
through. Completely different. The energy is
Wow.
completely different. You can really sense it. Because they're always on a higher vibration than us, because obviously they don't have a physical body, right? So
Yeah.
whenever they are on the other side, I say quote marks because the other side is not someplace else. It's just
Yeah.
this side, same as us. It's just the energy part of it, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's not somewhere else. But anyway, let's call it mainstream. Let's call it the other side. So if they have crossed, the vibration is high. You can tell. So they come
Yeah.
through. They're very light. They feel totally different. If I connect and I get a sense of stress, a sense of frustration, anger, that sort of stuff, I immediately know that there's something that didn't go right. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
And very often, yes, they don't know what happened. Well, they do know what happened, but they don't know where they are. They don't know what to do.
Mm.
They don't want to go, and they because they feel like if they go, that actually I've heard this quite often. I don't want to let them go.
Mm.
Like I don't want to cross because I don't want to let my go of my family. And so I
Mm.
always have to say to them, you will feel them more, because they're like, I can't find them. I've been trying to get through to them. Why they can't hear me? I was like, they can't hear you because you're here. So,
Yeah.
and then they cross, and then when they come back, they have a very different vibration, and it gets easier. It gets easier. But it's
Wow.
yeah, it's very powerful to find someone stuck. And as a medium, we have a duty of, of helping them. We
Yeah.
have to help them. We can't just leave them there. Um, so yeah, it's very interesting. It can be very, very sad, and that's more tiring.
Yeah.
That's more physically proving on the body for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really cool that your grandma comes through to help you with that though.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
can only imagine, like, as you said, like it's like a skill like anything else. Developing the skill, like having the mediumship ability, then being able to develop the skill to maybe cross someone over when they're kind of stuck in this, I know, in a certain dimension, and they don't want to move forward, or they
Yeah.
don't know how to. Yeah, I can't even
Yeah.
imagine what that
Yeah.
would be like. My
Yeah.
goodness. So, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what do you think about? Because I know in this reality here, when we have someone that passed suddenly, for example, or young, we usually say, um, like they went too soon. Do you think that that is like valid, that someone passed too soon, or do we all go at the time that we're meant to go?
I think we all go at the time we're meant to go. I think so.
Mm,
I think so. Um, it's a very, very fine line, because when you think, especially children, you
yeah.
know, how can that be, possible,
Yeah.
But I think it's hard for us to comprehend because we are in the physical world.
Yeah.
Um, I've connected to so many babies on the others, born and unborn babies. Yeah,
Mm,
so loads of mamas that had miscarriages, and and all of that. And the thing that I hear the most from the kids is like, thank you for being my mom for that time, because that's what I needed. I just
Wow.
needed to be there. I just needed to experience it that way. Thank you for giving me the love. Thank you for allowing me to be born, or allowing me to just be in your body for as long as
Yeah.
I needed to. And that's what I needed to experience. And there's so much peace when they come through, so much peace. I
Wow.
always feel that that it's more us that are really stuck with a certain view of things. You know,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
feel that on the other side, like spiritually, I really feel that for them it's so much more uncomplicated,
Yeah.
you know. And I have not, especially children, actually, now that I'm thinking back, I've not found someone that was distressed. The like, children are very, very grateful, very, very
Mm.
grateful, very grateful
Wow.
to their mothers, to their parents for having been able to just experience what they needed to in this life. And also, I also feel like I really believe in parallel lives and past lives as well. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot there too, and I can sense how we are connected through lifetimes. And very often, you know, children, we meet them again. Very often,
Yeah.
we meet, you know, our souls again. Actually, I'm gonna make you smile. Um, a really good one of my best friends. She has a 4-year-old, and I think it was last year, so she would have been 3, right?
Yeah.
Last year she was playing with her parents, and she said, "Do you remember, Mum, when I was your mum?"
Wow.
Yes. And she's like,
That
"What do you
is
mean?" She's like,
so
"Yeah."
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
She says, yes. She says, when I was your mom, you really liked playing this game. And they were like pretending like having tea, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, you really liked playing this when I was your mom?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
It's so
Whoa.
beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. I know, like, because I'm a mom too. And
Yeah.
sometimes I wonder, like, what kind of relationship did I have with these children,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some other
Yeah.
dimension in a past life? Or, yeah, because, like, I feel like kids are such, like being a parent is like a spiritual thing. Like, it's very spiritual. It teaches you so much about yourself. There's just so much growth. And, like, if when you come to a certain level of awareness and introspection, it's just mind blowing what it means to be a parent and, birth children, even if you don't birth them, like even adopted children or children that, end up in your care for whatever reason. It is such a spiritual pursuit, like, seriously. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that is something that it's so easy to take for granted, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
anything is. I mean, everything about life is spiritual anyway. But then when it comes to these really close relationships, these bonds that we form with people, like, there's just so many levels to that we don't understand or we don't remember.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating. I'm curious to know, though, since we're on the topic of children, in the US, there's been this long-standing debate and upheaval about abortion and abortion rights and things like that. For the babies that get aborted, for me, I have zero judgment as to what anyone decides to do with their body. But
Hmm.
what do you think, like, from a spiritual perspective and what you know of, like, life and death and all this stuff? How do you then how can you help people to, like, reconcile with something like that, like something like abortion that is so heavy for a lot of people?
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that actually mediumship is a beautiful tool for that. I think connecting with the souls of the unborn babies, it's a beautiful way to have a conversation and understand what. have not necessarily closure, because I don't think there ever is closure, because our
Yeah.
souls are so connected, but at least understanding why things went the way that they did, and actually for the mothers to know that, you know, possibly that's what the baby also wanted, if that's what the
Yeah.
mother wanted, you know?
Yeah.
Very often there's a type of reading that we can do with people, this, which is not mediumship, but
Mm.
it's simply looking around their energy for any like spirit guides or beings and stuff like that. Do you know
Yeah.
how many babies I see around people? So many babies. So many
Wow.
babies, yes, very
That's
often. And
amazing.
when I asked the babies, I was like, what do you do? What are you doing with this person's energy? And they're like, I'm just checking them out. I'm just checking them out. I like being here, and
Wow.
maybe I might be choosing them as mothers. I was like, okay, that's great.
Okay.
So we always have, so it is not a strange thing to see around somebody's energy to have babies, and I feel like there's so many souls. Not all of them get to be in the physical world all the time.
Yeah.
Some of them, they just need to, maybe that's the experience that their soul wanted to
Wanted
have
to
at that
have.
time.
Yeah.
And honestly, so many of the unborn babies that I connected with had only thank you to say to their moms. Only
Wow.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely takes a lot of the heaviness off because I think there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt,
Yeah.
even regret,
I
like all
bet.
sorts of like lower frequency ideas and things around that. And as you said, like the souls do come in and decide to have that experience, even though it's really hard for us to wrap our heads around. Maybe you have a
Yeah.
soul contract with that soul to do that, right?
Yeah.
The soul wanted to
Yeah.
experience that for their own reason, whatever it is that they wanted to learn or grow from. So, yeah. And, but to
Yeah.
us in this, for like very physical world and the ideas that we have, the concepts that we adhere to and believe in, it's hard for a lot of people to understand that it's okay. There's no judgment. It's all love at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to address something, because I know that a lot of people will be thinking about this as we are on the topic of children.
Yeah.
Is all of the kids in war zones,
Oh,
right? Have they
yeah.
actually, like, what is happening with them,
Oh, Lord.
and it's,
Yeah.
again, like, it's a very, very hard thing to understand and to
It
wrap
is.
your
Yeah.
head around it, and it takes a lot. I mean, I've been thinking about it, so much, especially with the work that I do and stuff. And when we have these, when we decide to embrace our psychic abilities,
Mm.
the thing that matters the most is our intention. Okay.
Yeah.
In general, actually, not only whether you decide to embrace your psychic abilities or not, like, in general, intention is what's going to direct energy, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that there are people that are going to utilize their intuitive power, because in a way it does give you a lot of power, right? It's
Yeah.
it's a very empowering thing. Um, it's a very powerful thing. And so a lot of people are deciding to utilize this for good and to be
Mm.
ethical, and they decide to heal themselves and utilize whatever they have learned and everything for the greater good and to help. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that there's always another side of things as well, right? There's always going to be people who are going to try and twist things. There are
Yeah.
people out there with bad intentions. There
Yeah.
are people out there that decide, I want to develop my psychic abilities so that I can do something else, right? And
Yes.
exercise my power over someone else, right? Not everyone decides that the greater good or service is what they want to do, right? There's
Yes.
people who are going to utilize their power in very different ways, right? So when it
Yeah.
comes to especially wars and things like that, I feel that they and sorry, backtrack a second. I also feel that the people with the bad intentions are usually the one that have the most insecurities,
Oh
that don't
yeah.
want to face themselves, right? They have the most insecurities, that don't feel enough. But the thing is that because most of us have insecurities, but when we face them and we heal them and we move on from them, then the energy that we put out there is of one sort of vibration, right? But when we
Mm-hmm.
don't and we try to bypass them and we try to lean into power before we have healed, then the effect it's very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but ultimately they're all people that are very, very insecure. So whoever is it that it's fighting a war, there's so many in the world right now, right? So whoever it is that is fighting the wars on both sides, they are dealing with whatever power is driving them is a
Yeah.
very low vibrational, insecure kind of energy. Okay.
Yeah.
Very low vibrational, very insecure kind of energy. When it comes to children, and their innocence and their energy is very, very high vibrational, very, very high vibrational. So when we have these sorts of energies, and also children are usually very empathic as well. So when we have these
Yeah.
sorts of low, insecure energy, that's where they're going to want to feed, isn't it? That's what's going to
Mm.
attract them. Okay.
Yeah.
So as much as I do believe that there are so many children that come and they are meant to experience, a short life, I also know that when, especially when it's in war zones, especially when it's in a situation like that when there's so many low vibrational energies, I know that they are being overpowered as well. So that
Yeah.
might not have been necessarily what was meant for them, for sure. So I
Oh.
do feel that there's different things. But again, I've been thinking about this for so long. I've been trying to wrap my head around how could this be, how could this work, that there's wars in the world, how could this actually, and I can't move on from thinking that it's all due to just insecurities and people using their powers to take instead of
Yeah.
give. And that's all rooted in just being unloved,
Yeah.
and not being able to love. So there's two very different things, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's very hard to wrap our head around it, for sure.
Absolutely. So, when you have things like that, and of course, you mentioned before earlier when souls kind of get stuck on a certain plane of existence when they probably had a violent death or something sudden and what have you, then how then can we, like, those souls that kind of get stuck or lost, or they're afraid to cross over, or they don't even know where they are, whatever the case may be, do do they kind of interact or affect the rest of us here who are still in our bodies? How does that play out when you have souls who are just like still hanging on? Like, how does that work?
No, I don't think that they influence us in any way. I don't think so. Um, no, it doesn't make sense to me that they would do something to us. No, no, I
Mm,
don't think so. I don't think so. I know that there's playful spirits around and that, the flicker the lights and do loads of different things,
yeah.
around, for sure. Not all of these spirits have to be stuck, certainly some of these spirits are trying to reach out in some way, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, to ask for help, indeed. So in a way, if we get to communicate with a spirit that is trying to come through onto this side, then, trying to communicate with us and with different methods, then yes. But
Yeah.
other than that superficial influence, of just trying to get our attention, I no, I don't think that they do anything else, honestly. No.
Yeah. Because I think that is also one of the fears that people have around um, souls who are still somewhere here lingering around for whatever reason. I think we associate a lot of fear with that as something to be afraid of or something to be careful of. So, yeah, I just wanted to know from your experience, like, them being here, is there any interaction? Like, how do what is the interaction like when, if they choose to interact? So, because I think, like we've spoken about, in society, the hauntings and all of these different
Hmm.
things. So, like, yeah, I was really curious into that, as like, do souls really intend to haunt people? Yeah, because, like, it's just to kind of like address, I guess, those fears and those concerns that, the rest of us who haven't really developed our abilities to that extent to really understand what's happening.
Yeah. Um, Again, with it's something that's hard for sure to understand. Something that is hard to understand. But when it comes to the spiritual world, if there's one thing that I would like everybody to know, is that there's nothing in the spiritual world that is going to harm you more than something that can happen to you in the physical world. Okay. There is nothing there. Okay. There is
Legit.
nothing, right? There is nothing that some people are like, oh my God, it's so scary. I was like, no, it isn't more scary than going out, maybe, I don't know, at 3 o'clock in the morning in a big city,
Yeah.
by yourself. Like, it's not scarier than that. Okay. There's a lot more things that can harm us in the physical world than there are in the spiritual world, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of of spirits of people who have passed, I feel that I don't know. There could be some, haunting, but I would think that that's very rare. I would think that
Hmm.
that's very rare. Maybe there
Yeah.
are objects in which they channel their energy for the purpose of trying to communicate. Yes, but
Yeah.
like possessing a body, that sort of stuff. I don't think that that's dead people that do that. I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Yeah.
What I do think, though, is that there are all sorts of energy. When we think
Yeah.
about energy and spirit, the dead are a tiny population. Like the dead are
Yeah.
just right,
For
are
real.
small, are a small amount of all different sorts of spirits that can be
That
out there,
exists. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, do I believe that? So look, for example, what classifies also as spirit world is thought forms,
Mm.
right? Because they have an energy in and of itself.
Hmm.
Thought forms, it's us that makes them,
Hmm.
right? It's us that's produce them. And those are more likely to give us issues than dead people are.
Mm.
Okay. So we really have to understand that not the harm or the issues, it's I would say it's very unlikely to come from the dead. Very
Mm.
unlikely. Very unlikely.
Yeah.
That there's so but there are, lower vibrational beings, lower vibrational spirits, thought forms, whatever,
Yeah.
that certainly we have to have very strong boundaries for. But I always find that the stronger boundaries we have with ourselves, the less of these issues we will have. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, tell me more
I
about
hope that makes
developing
sense.
these boundaries. Tell me more about that, because I
Yes.
think, like, generally speaking, we need to have boundaries with the people that are still in bodies, right? That are still
Yes.
here,
Yes.
incarnated
Yes.
on earth. I think that is something it took me even a long time to even know what boundaries were, much less to exercise them. So, and it's still a practice, a growing practice for me in just my day to day relationships. So there's the boundaries where, yes, like, you need to have those with the people that you encounter in life, in this reality. And then there's the energetic, thinking about having those energetic boundaries as well. I love for you to yeah, get into that and break it down
Yeah.
for us. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love boundaries. It's one of my favorite topic for sure. So ultimately, what are boundaries? Boundaries is how we communicate to the external world, or also to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
how to communicate with us, right? How to tell others what is okay or not okay to do with us or in relation
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Ultimately, that's what a boundary is. And so you have to think those terms to be physical, So somebody can, in a way that how somebody can touch you, but also
Yeah.
physical in terms of other people in our lives and how they're allowed to interact with us. You have to think on an energetic level. So if we know that there are so many different energies around us, how can I look after myself so well so that those energies are not even bothered to come
Yeah.
near me? Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that the energetic boundaries, I feel it's closely linked to the boundaries that we have with ourselves and how we keep our own promises.
Mm.
Yeah. So whether something or a lower vibrational being or thought form, whatever, is going to influence you, is strictly related to how much respect and how much respect you have for yourself, and how much you keep your own promises, and how much you keep your own word for yourself, to
Yeah.
yourself, and show up for yourself. That's it. That's all. That's always like internal to us. And then, we can wear the obsidian, because I don't go anywhere without without my black obsidian. That
Yeah.
all obviously helps. That obviously helps, and I cleanse my energy every day because I work with people's energy literally. So
Yeah.
I cleanse that multiple times a day, and I do a lot of inner work. This is all stuff that it's part of the mix, but ultimately is the word that we keep to ourselves. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's that
It's
it's
how we
keeping the
love
promise.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah,
How we respect
absolutely.
ourselves, how we love
Yeah,
ourselves, and how we
yeah,
regard ourselves, how we think about ourselves.
yeah,
That also helps us to have that protective layer as well.
absolutely. And also how much responsibility we take for our life as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How much responsibility we take for our life, because it is true that we if somebody treated us in a certain way when we were children, it is true that we didn't go and ask for that. It's some of this stuff are horrible that are happening in certain families and to children. But is it our fault that it happened? Absolutely not. Is it our responsibility to heal us and to show up for
Yeah.
ourselves and to understand ourselves? Well, yeah, because nobody else is living this life other than us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's our life. And so I think that having that sense of responsibility to face whatever it is that we need to face, even the mostly the ugly stuff,
Mm.
is something that is going to help us massively with boundaries, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That
I'm
is
very
really,
I feel like I'm very strict with my vision around taking
yeah, it's very
responsibility for our
practical
life.
too. And it's very
Yeah, yeah,
practical. Yeah. I love that.
yeah.
I see you have, is that a Ouija board behind you
Yes, I do.
on
Yes, my
your
boyfriend got it for
bookshelf?
me for my birthday a while ago. Yes, he was like, "Can we use it? Can we use it?" I was
Oh
like,
my
"Sure."
God. So what did anything come through when you used the Ouija
No,
board?
actually, no, no, not with the Ouija board. No, but we haven't tried it as many times. I feel like we probably need a bit more practice. Also, because the way I do mediumship, when you learn how to do something in a certain way, and then it's
Yeah.
difficult to switch over to do it in a different way. I feel that
Yeah.
that's probably what's happening with the Ouija board.
Probably. That's funny.
But it was interesting. It was a weird experience for me, for sure. But
Hmm.
we're gonna have to give it more tries, I think. Yes.
Oh, that's so sick. I love it. That's cute. So, like, have you ever actually done, because now, we spoke about your family and your upbringing. Have you ever done any readings for your family members, or has anyone in your family, your mom, um, like been like, okay, like I'm curious to see what you do
Yeah.
and what this is like? Has that ever
Yeah.
happened, or do they just want to be like, I don't know, we respect what you do, we're happy for you. That's you do
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. 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 Well, first of all, not all of my family knows what I do. Yeah. So
Oh,
that's one of my boundaries. It's one of my boundaries, right? That's one of
good,
my
good.
boundaries. Because obviously I work I don't live in Italy, so everything that I do is in English. I work a lot with the UK and a lot with America as well.
Yeah.
So my website is in English, so it's not. they don't speak English, so it's not
Yeah.
really that they follow what I do or not. They don't even have social media or anything like that. So
Okay.
a lot
Okay.
of the stuff they don't know. My dad, when I did the training a few years ago, and I said to him, "So, Dad," I said, I'm gonna train for my psychic skills. Oh, stop with that BS, please." So I'm like, okay, never mind. So he was always like he's very direct. My dad is
Oh
that
my
Italian,
goodness.
very direct Italian, funny man. Anyways, so with him, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna tell you anything else about
Yeah.
this, right? So he doesn't very much, he doesn't ask, and then my mom, no, my mom's very open. She's very
Mm-hmm.
open. She has every now and then when she's got something, she's like, "Would you do this reading for me? Would you do my tarot?" And then she's got me involved with all her friends as well. So
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
yes.
That is so cute though.
Yeah. It is. I haven't always had the easiest relationship with my mom. I think we crashed a lot,
Yeah.
especially growing up and in my 20s. And to have her open, to these things, makes me very happy. It makes me very happy when she
Oh.
comes and she's like, "Do you know that person? I told them that they should come to you because you would fix them up." I was like, "Mom, it's not about fixing anything."
Oh. I
That's
love
not what it
that.
is. She's like, "You know what I mean. You know what I mean." So she's very sweet like that. She's very sweet like that. But yes, no. Otherwise, nobody else in my family actually knows, and they don't really have any curiosity, I believe, to find out because they never ask anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know what? And I ask myself so often, I was like, is it me like trying to hide who I am? Does it what does it all mean, because I'm all
Yeah.
about authenticity. So if I can't be authentic, with some people in my family, then what does it say, right, about my own
Yeah.
journey and stuff? But you know what, I think that i don't I don't need their approval
Yeah.
in order for me to love them, or in order
Yeah.
for me to feel a connection with them. I love them very much and I am very, very grateful to have them in my life. They're also of a very different generation. They're all
Mm-hmm.
like double my age and everything. And so I think that I've just gauged what you can talk about and what is better to maybe not, simply because I think it's sometimes not worth the friction. It's
Exactly.
just like
Yeah.
we can simply just love each other, and it's okay if we don't know every single thing, or maybe some of the things we don't approve of. I have my auntie, she will go as far as astrology she's okay with, but then when I
Yeah.
go a little bit deeper with astrology, she starts being like, no, 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 this is far-fetched,
Oh
this
my
doesn't work
God.
like this.
Yeah. But
This
it's
doesn't work like this.
okay though. Like we
So
can
it's
love
okay,
the
yeah.
people in our lives and we don't have
Yeah,
to agree
yeah,
on the same thing and see
exactly.
eye to eye about everything and even
Yeah,
get into all the details of what we're doing because you kind of
exactly.
like where they have their own boundary as to what they're willing to believe in, what they're willing to listen to, what they're willing to explore. So it's just not
Yeah,
worth the friction, as you
yeah,
said. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And also, I think that everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah.
I don't need the whole world to think that we can speak to the dead. Do I think that it would be useful to them? Yes, sure, but it's their
Yeah.
own opinion. Everybody's entitled to have one. So
Yeah. People
yeah,
are where they are, and that's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Gloria, I enjoy speaking to you very much. Is there anything
Me too.
that you would have liked to mention that we haven't yet spoken about before we get into that? Also, just plug yourself and let us know where we can reach you and, and get in
Yeah.
touch with you for your work. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 of course. You can find me at gloriabattini.com. The website has all the information, how to work with me, what I do, a little bit more in depth. You can also find me on YouTube. I have loads of stuff on my channel. I go live on my channel at least 3 times a week. So you can find me there for sure. I'm also a teacher on the Insight Timer app, if anybody's familiar with that. And I stream the
Yeah.
live events that I do on Insight Timer. I stream them on YouTube. So all of that, you can definitely find all of the links to that on my website. What I would like to say is that if I can leave you with anything, is that you you know what we call God, the
Mm.
concept of it, not
Yeah.
necessarily like the religious concept, but the higher power. That I
Yeah.
really want everybody to know that that's within you. That's who
Mm.
you are. You are an expression of that. Energetically speaking, we're all connected. We're all
Mm-hmm.
connected, and we're all connected to that, where each of us is an expression of this super powerful energy. And I think that if we really become aware of this, I think we can heal a lot within ourselves. I think that we can find more trust within ourselves. We can find more compassion towards ourselves as well, and allow ourselves to live with to have more grace towards us. But you're not, you know, not gifted enough, or not good enough, or whatever, insecurity. That's not you. That's something that's been put there for somebody else. What you are is infinite. That's what you are. So
Beautiful.
I just want everybody to know that.
That's a beautiful way to end this conversation, Gloria. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Kersha. It's been really, really, really nice. Really nice. I love talking to you.
Yeah, it's been lovely.